Colin Bannon, Chief Technology Officer, CTO of BT Business, board member of the Metro Ethernet Forum, MEF, and lecturer at the University of Warwick. Colin Bannon is Chief Technology Officer, CTO of BT Business, a division of BT Group, where he leads the technology strategy for products and the development of innovative solutions that deliver strategic outcomes. His work directly impacts over 1 million businesses in the UK, as well as around 1,000 multinationals in over 180 countries. One of its most ambitious projects is Global Fabric, BT's Network as a Service (NaaS) platform. This fully digital, API-driven solution offers end-to-end automation and enables customers to configure, modify, and scale connectivity services such as Internet, MPLS, Ethernet, Cloud Interconnect, and Edge computing with near-instantaneous control. The platform also supports service insertion technologies such as SD-WAN, SACE, and firewalls.
Interview number 1 on this carve today, Colin, and today's day 2 of Mobile World Congress. Let's go.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So, Colin, thank you so much for
Pleasure.
saying yes and coming here and hanging out with me in this lovely car, getting away a little bit from craziness of Mobile World
I know.
Congress.
How cool is this? Is get away from the crowds for a minute.
I know, right? A little bit of a chance to like breathe and get away from all the buzzwords, big stands. Mobile World Congress this year is bigger than ever. This is not your first rodeo, though.
No. I think BT has been here many years, and also our group CEO Alison is sitting on the GSMA board this year, and had some
Which is
very interesting
incredible.
meetings. And the meetings started on the weekend, so this has been going in full swing. It is an incredible event and a great opportunity to get the latest on what's happening next. What does it all mean? What's the implications? And a great way also to renew connections with old friends, because people are coming from all around the world to be here for this amazing event.
I know. Tell us a little bit for the people out there that don't know about BT and how BT has evolved and changed over the years.
Sure.
A little bit about them.
Yes,
Tell me
something like
more
that.
about that journey.
Well, I mean, your bottom line is BT is the oldest telco in the world, and but we still are hungry like a startup, and that is a really interesting. So you have this incredible history of trust and resilience as the national critical infrastructure of the UK, but maybe not everybody knows our global division. We are in about 185. We serve customers in 185 countries.
Oh, wow.
So we are running some of the world's largest networks, and for the Fortune 1000, supporting things. And it is a privilege to be doing that, because we provide the critical data and communications infrastructure for ensuring that people are safe when they're flying in the skies, the souls that are there, the emergency services. In fact, in the UK, we take about 33 million emergency services calls to what we call the 999 services. In the US, they might call it the 911 services. And our operators essentially make sure that the emergency services, fire, police, ambulance, get to people get the desperate services that they need. And for enterprise and innovation, the networks now have gone from not just powering the business outcomes of all our incredible customers, whether they be logistics or transport or banking, but now these networks are powering the AI highways that are coming and all the incredible disruption that's going on. And through all the generations, we've sort of risen to the challenge of what was next. And now we have this incredible thing called AI. Everybody is talking about it.
Yeah.
Just
A lot of people don't know what it is. It's almost like this provocative buzzword bingo.
100%.
Yeah.
But the nobody is talking about, well, what about the networks when it comes to
Correct.
AI? And of course, that's the thing that keeps us up at night, is making sure that people have brilliant outcomes, incredible trust and resilience, and great experience on the apps that they use. AI is another app. AI is kind of not been launched into the network, it's escaped onto the network. And now we need to deal with incredible growth on bandwidth, new behaviors of AI on the network, And also all these distributed brains talking to each other right now, what are the implications? And the character of the fingerprint of AI on networks is different.
Okay.
Things like elephant flows, the extreme sensitivity to jitter and delay, all these sort of technical things that require the very most modern and innovative network, which BT has just done a huge transformation role to transform our global network, which we call Global Fabric, which we started with a thesis that it would be for distributed multi-cloud. We
Okay.
started about 3 years ago. And
So
I guess
3 years ago, you set out and said, okay, no centralized
yep,
data
yeah, it was,
network. We are
it,
going to continue to service 100, and you said over 180 countries
yes,
worldwide.
100%.
And obviously, there's no conversation about we're going to cloud.
Well,
So those were the
we are
main.
basically it was about people moving to cloud.
Mhm.
They were still using private. Nobody was ever in one cloud. I've yet to find a
Yeah, of
customer
course.
that's a one cloud. So
We
this
were
is
just here with some government, so
yeah.
it's
And so the problems that we were solving 3 years ago was workloads were becoming more distributed. Now we've lucked out because we recreated this incredible programmable underlay fabric. It's
okay.
like extending the data center out into the world. And data centers, of course, they have what did people like? Well, they could spin up new compute instantly at the
Mhm.
speed of the business, and then you'd reach out to a telco and say, "Oh, I want some more bandwidth," and you'd have to raise a change order and wait 6 weeks or 6 months in some cases. Now we've extended that programmability so it's instant.
Okay.
And that's really exciting. They also had really great microservices, really great control, really great visibility. So we extended all the best principles of what was inside a data center to the wide area network, because our belief is the network is now the computer. Because you have all these tiny nodes meshed into one giant brain, you need the network to underpin all of that incredible power. And of course, then we need to keep it secure as well. So a really not just resilient, but super secure network where the threats are getting greater and the bad guys are using AI as well.
Mhm.
We need to be ready. And I guess the question that everybody will be asking the CIOs out there, the ones I talk to, is they're network AI ready.
Of course. And some of the questions come from not understanding what you said, the fabric, the underlayer of how data, and I think something that networks and telecommunication understood much before banks or any
Mhm,
open other networks were out there.
mhm.
You said 3 years ago you made this huge change. How has it changed the receptivity of how business can grow and how you can service clients worldwide?
Well, commercially, let's just
Hmm.
use a commercial example. Before, one of the things that all this incredible change brings is sometimes uncertainty.
Yeah.
And businesses need to be very much more agile in how they respond to this uncertainty. So sometimes in some regions, they need to scale up really, really quickly. And in other areas, they need to scale down. The old traditional model with telcos, when you do a managed service deal, was sort of a fixed contract for 5 years or 7 years. And and it was relatively inflexible. We wanted to be much more dynamic, more cloud-like, really, where you didn't necessarily have a fixed contract and you had a thing called essentially a network as a service. So, you had SaaS, now it's
Hmm.
network as a service, NAS, and that is essentially no fixed contract, pay as you go, pay as you grow. You can scale up, scale down, and be much more dynamic. That's been a journey for our salespeople because, of course,
I
they
can
used to
imagine.
like to have an ICV
Lock it
target,
in.
lock it
Yeah.
in.
Nice
And
ACVs and
now, yeah,
bonuses. Yeah.
absolutely. But if you believe in the underlying quality of your product,
Correct.
then you should be able to see and trust that the customers will continue to come to that platform. And the reality is that is what's happened. If anything, it allows them to, they tend to put more on as the trust grows, because part of that lock-in worry was in their heads rather than the actual
In the way
problem.
that it's
Mm.
hard to change, right?
Yeah.
We're used to doing things. So one thing that we all used to doing, which is what we're doing here, watching things through video and saying hello, is what you bring when you bring transformation to broadband industry.
Mm.
And now we're talking, you kind of touched on it around
Yep.
AI, but we know what's happening with video streaming and we know power that has when you're talking about medical services,
Yep.
emergency services,
Mhm.
the opportunity, but also the security that is required to authenticate, to
Mhm.
ensure, to transfer that. How have you as BT been working with these different governments, different legislations, different providers to bring that all together?
Okay, well, I will take broadband and expand it to be not just fixed, but also mobile. Because I think in this new world, what's going to happen is we're seeing more and more customers just want connectivity. They don't really care what's connecting them. They just want to be on all the time. Heaven help them not if the Facebook isn't working or the Instagram.
Oh, heaven
or
help the
yeah,
doors of those establishments.
yeah,
We've seen it happen.
yeah, exactly. So, but more importantly, from business processes or vital services and look, the credit card companies, they used to have like that little machine that you could put your card in and put
Oh,
a
yeah,
piece of paper on and go.
Yeah, yeah.
They
I
don't have
remember
those
my
anymore.
banking days.
There
I was
is,
trained on one of those.
there you
believe it or
go.
not. Yeah.
So there's no plan B now, right? You know, for without the network. And so the criticality of the network in every business's process now is fundamental, even though people don't always think about the network. They sure think about it when it doesn't work. Um, and so think about a future where companies like BT will be providing transformation for customers who are consuming the broadband services, I'll use that in a wider term, where the networks will help them decide what is the best connection at any one time. So whether or not it's fixed or mobile, it'll be a heterogeneous network with control. In the past, we've always thought about these as stovepipes. In the fixed area, I'll give you an example with Global Fabric. We ran in BT, ran 5 different international cores. The complexity, the cost of that, impact on the environment was massive in terms of. So what we did was we took internet, MPLS, ELAN Ethernet, E-line Ethernet, and some of the functions of our media and broadcast network, and collapsed them onto a single fabric. And that new fabric, interestingly enough, in terms of give back, is using 76% less electricity globally.
I was just about to ask you.
With 10x or 100x worth of performance. We believe that connecting for good is not just for the people, but for the environment as well. And that's really important to think really hard how we can do our bit. Major corporations have scope 3 commitments, which we'll be aware of. When you do your scope 1 and 2, you can do it in-house. But when you get to your scope 3 commitments, you really need your full supply chain to get on board. We're really confident and excited. Our network has the most efficient watts per gigabit worth of throughput. You think of that, I think I've just made this up, a new equation.
A new KPI.
A new KPI of watts per gigabit is the most efficient network to move data around the world.
I often have that question. I'm like, are we talking about the data movement and a transaction? Because we often don't calculate a network
100%.
footprint in that way.
Yeah.
We're calculating of like storage and other more traditional ways that you would have seen a data center model do. In that impact and that change, does the customer care? And how does BT, when it really comes to the ROI and doing that transformation, or is it just like an answer of like, hey, I'm CIO, my board is asking me, how am I ready?
No.
And where are we in that journey?
I think we're in a journey where every RFP has it in.
Of course, every awareness.
Yes, everybody has it in. And 2 points I'm going to make on this is one is people are beginning to care more and more about this, but it also makes really great business sense. In the UK, BT is using 1% of the energy grid each year of the capacity of the energy grid. When you have geopolitical uncertainty and you have changes of power supply, that could be hundreds of millions of difference to your bottom line.
Of course.
So think about that, extrapolating that out to on charge. Everybody who's paying for cloud right now, they've had this additional line around power appear on there about the power ones. We wanted to take that away.
But I think this is great. You're making points about like really what is the ROI on sustainability.
Yeah.
And what is really
There's a
the part that is going to make clients, because clients want to be green, but until my client really stops buying from me, you got to tell me how this is going to make sense.
I would think that we try to, this is kind of an esoteric point, but I kind of think of it as a sort of a triple bottom line. It's good. It's good for communities.
Yeah.
It's good for the environment, but it also makes good business sense. They don't have to be mutually exclusive,
Of course
right?
not.
So if you're clever enough on doing
I
these
agree.
things,
I also think it's also a change in like a mindset, like a
Mhm.
mindset of abundance versus a mindset of a zero sum game.
Yes,
And even as an economist, appreciate the principle, but like we got to do more.
yes,
And if
100%.
technology can send people to Mars, like why
Yeah,
can't we fix the Earth we live in?
absolutely,
And I think that
absolutely.
responsibility with telecoms is one that is much needed. When we
Mm,
talk about openness,
mm,
you talked about a global fabric. A
yeah.
global fabric, distributed, these
Hmm.
are words that to me sound partnership, ecosystem,
Oh yeah,
collaboration. Double down on that for me
sure.
because telecoms have not been particularly known
Yeah,
for partnering
yeah,
in the playground
yeah,
nicely.
yeah,
And there are giants. So
yeah.
for the people out there and understanding, you talked about an example where an AI data agent makes a hell of a lot of sense
Hmm.
when thinking when is the network or which network am I going to use?
Yep.
Now you're not only a dumb pipe, you're now intelligence. Now you're being the connected fabric that you're meant to be. So how is BT navigating this world and what has changed now having the global fabric about how you treat your ecosystems, how you look at technology partnerships?
Yeah. Well, it's a really great question, first of all, and I think you put your finger on the pulse of how telcos in the past may have worked. Is walled gardens, and
Yes.
we've knocked down those walls with the new platform. We know that growth is real, exciting, exponential growth is impossible without creating a platform effect on that. And a platform doesn't get used without partners and additional channels that can grow faster than inorganically faster than our own sales force. So
Correct.
having a flywheel effect with partners is an incredibly exciting thing. And let me give you a few examples of what we thought from that side is um, we were surprised. We built this network for our key clients, our enterprise clients. But what we found in the telco community is that all of a sudden it became because it was open, because it had an open set of API standards, because there was a way to peer and have other telcos treat their traffic transparently the way they wanted it treated across a fabric that they trust, that is scaled, that is in places where it may not make good economic sense for them to build infrastructure themselves. Well, we were pleasantly surprised at how great a wholesale platform became. And the commitment to open standards as well. I sit on the board of the MEF this year.
For the
There,
people out there without knowledge of the soup letter that
yeah,
MWC can be met.
yeah. So MEF is the Metro Ethernet 4. And
There we go.
yeah, so this was the standardization where every telco
Yeah.
had built Ethernet, but they didn't actually have a standard. So they need to pull this body so that they could actually talk to each other.
I know
And
the
yeah,
importance of standards. I tell people, I'm like,
mm,
it's like not knowing how to navigate. It's
yeah,
nomenclature for the technology world, and we have to
yeah,
do a better job of helping
yeah.
each other understand.
Well, that lowers the cost of launching new products. It
Of
allows you to
course.
actually scale. But it's more than just telco to telco, though that's been a really pleasant surprise for us to scale.
Hmm.
And I do think there is an importance for scale when you're working global because you get better unit economics and better outcomes.
And better services for your
Oh,
clients is physically
absolutely.
impossible to, for most companies still to this
Yeah,
date, to scale
yeah,
culturally, awareness,
yeah.
ethically, fairly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And once you have like we're kind of almost like a hyperscaler for the network. Once you get to where we're at now with a
Mhm.
global fabric, we're almost like the hyperscaler of networking globally. And once you have that reach and that trust, then other over the top partners want to start to build and light up their services in the marketplace on our network. And that adds additional revenue streams and additional value for our customers. But, you know, you mentioned a word responsibility as well.
Of course.
And uh, I think the telcos and BT certainly believes, I mentioned it before, we believe in connecting for good. The network has an ability to transform and support the ability to transform economies, to support um, eh, um, support the transformation of being more ecologically sensitive on how you build your IT stacks. And it also helps support critical services and allows people to be agile and build the innovation that they need securely without without the network, the friction of the network, whether they don't want to move to cloud or when they want to engage with AI safely and successfully. And the network needs to be there as a partner. Now, we've been quite silent for a number of years in the background. Probably the only time you hear about a telco on the front page of a paper is when something really
It's not
bad
good news.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
You
is why
know,
my question of like this
yeah.
change in culture
Yeah.
of like, yeah.
Our dream, I think, would be, to make networks sexy again, or
Absolutely.
and believe that the power of communications is a really important, not just a cost center, but it's a transformational tool to make things better.
And I think the understanding that you've inherently had, and I think when we look at today, not only countries, like we've had countries sitting here, entire government security teams sitting here. Yesterday we had the French security team talking about their EMS services and the need for collaboration and the responsibility, as you said, about, it is kind of sexy to be able to provide the right information at the right time.
Yeah.
And it has to be much more than what I bought last week's on Instagram. Like the world has to understand in a time which is so critical. The importance and responsibility that it takes to carry not only money, but information, which today we know transforms the world.
Yeah. So I think there's two angles there. There's the great responsibility of the network as the ability to deliver services that are critical, and the other side is the great responsibility or making it cool again. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And exciting.
Yeah.
Which I'm super excited about the future.
What are you excited to learn here at Mobile World Congress? What are some of the partnerships? So you've talked about this incredible transformation that is not only technology, but culture, principles, the kind of humans, and the kind of way you do business. You're talking about transforming how telecommunications industry is seen as a player and the culture of that. So that's no small chart of a transformation.
Yeah. Well, I think we always look at events like this is to sort of touch base and check in with our strategic partners, because we have many, many brilliant partners. Their leaders have flown in from all around the world. And it's an opportunity to make sense of it all. That's one part when we all sit down. The second one is to strategically align on where we're both or multilaterally going to lean in to change things and move the dial. And then, of course, from a learning perspective, last year, AI was a bit of a science project.
Correct.
This year, every partner now has at least their first edition of a fully AI-enabled product, pretty much at every step. I challenge you, and I don't know if you had any time to get out of this vehicle and get in there and walk around, but if you did, every stand has AI. And I think the understanding the implications and being able to chart a roadmap and understand what we need to do as a telco to be so that AI is best on BT with the partners. Those are the sort of things that the conversations that we're doing. And as I said before, reconnect with old friends as well and renew bonds, because those bonds carry you through not just the good days, but also the bad days.
Yeah. And the challenging days that there are in operating in 130 countries in today's day and age is also not easy with the global political climate that you have. Providing a critical infrastructure resources requires this ability to rely on others. I think it's really interesting. How have you found, so what I heard you say here is that we're past the buzzword. There's actual projects and implementation. So what's next? Today I'm sitting in with some quantum folks that are telling me that everything that is now AI is going to be cracked and broken in 2 days. I'm sitting somewhere between the doomsday story and the hope for change. What's your view, Colin?
I'm very hopeful still. I still am full of hope, but full of responsibility as well. I would say there will always be, though, in an event like this, I'd never be surprised if there wasn't a little bit of hype and excitement. You've got a lot of people who are very passionate about technology here.
Correct.
And however, What would I say about this? I'd say that the next step on this is people are asking, and it's one of the questions I ask is, what is the return on investment for these things? How do we monetize? How do we actually take, it's gone from science project to real, you can touch it, is action.
Mhm.
How do you then execute and scale and monetize and allow our customers to be able to get the return on investment on these brilliant things, including AI? The shocking thing about this is not one where you can check back once a year. The pace of innovation is faster than I've ever seen in the market right now. And it
Mhm.
almost feels like every week there's a new announcement where everything you knew before is
Out
now
the
you
window
go
you
out the
go.
window and we're on to a
Yeah.
new paradigm. And it is an incredibly exciting time, but also a significantly challenging time for those who have a responsibility to keep things safe, secure, and running.
Correct. How do you keep up with safety? We talked about this. I often like telling people, criminals and fraudsters don't really do POCs. They don't
Hmm.
really follow
Yep.
regulations. They don't really particularly care
Yep.
who invented the technology.
Hmm.
They're out there to find the cracks.
Yes.
And they are insatious,
Hmm.
creative,
Hmm.
and resourceful.
Hmm.
That doesn't leave the fight a really fair one.
Yeah, you might argue that there is some asymmetry to this.
Hmm.
I won't necessarily call it warfare, but look, first of all, having the fundamentals right is very, very important, and having partners that are obsessed with security
Love that
in the
word.
platforms that
Hmm.
they do allows CISOs and CIOs to focus on the areas that they own, knowing that their supply chain is running to keep up. And hopefully staying ahead as well. Now, it's true to say that the malactors that are out there are clearly thinking about, and I've seen it in my inbox before with
Hmm.
smishing and phishing and all these various things where AI is allowing people to be a lot more personalized targets and a lot more sophisticated.
Yep.
And at a network rootkit level, AI is also being used. So the velocity of attacks and the sophistication of attacks and persistence of attacks is increasing significantly. And the reality is that the partners that are security platforms are now, it's necessary for them to embed AI in the defense. And
Totally.
so AI defense, using AI to block AI, you've almost got robots fighting robots in a
You
way
most
because
definitely
it's
do.
going at a pace that humans, it surpassed the speed that a human can actually mitigate a threat. And you need to have closed loop automation. You need to have very advanced, sophisticated heuristics, but also sophisticated AI that is working to defend against AI. And I think that is the future that we are walking into right now or hurtling into. And the great news is I'm feeling very reassured that our strategic partners that we use in our platforms and our infrastructure are rising to the challenge. And events like this is a great thing to sort of poke it with a stick and see,
Yeah.
okay, let's see what it really looks like.
You're like, your stance
Yeah,
sounds cool, but like,
yeah.
what's behind it?
Exactly. So, and again, it goes back to your point earlier that we talked about is no one person, no one company can solve this. It requires the industry and an ecosystem to rise to the challenge of these new disruptive innovations that are coming down to be able to keep our customers and the wider communities and people and families safe and secure.
I love a couple words you use there. Obsessed, I think, a huge part of the understanding of each other's ability to contribute in the world
Hmm.
is the recognition of the other one's ability.
Hmm.
So when you recognize that somebody can be obsessed about something that's super important and a piece of the fabric of what you're
Yeah,
going to build,
yeah,
it allows you to reshape how
yep,
partnerships, how your
yep.
industry, I think that's my hope for the industry to become sexy. I think it should come from that transformation that happens within. When you look at the people out there, you lead numerous amounts of people throughout your career, Colin.
Hmm.
You have teams all across the world. What is maybe some advice for somebody out there that didn't think this industry could be cool, didn't think this job could
Oh,
even exist,
goodness.
that you would leave them out there? Sometimes when looking out, it looks intentional and like, how did that person get there?
Yeah,
I always like leaving people with
sure.
something they can
No,
ponder.
100%. I mean, what people may not know out there is that working in telecommunications, I can only speak personally and for my teams, is it is a place that you can find incredible meaning about making a difference. As a technologist, there's not always that many places in technology where you can make tangible difference to people's lives, and protect and serve and promote and create more opportunities. Telecommunications is an incredible place to grow and learn and apply one's skills. And from an engineering career, I think it would be a hard challenge to think about places if you're aligned to being engineering focused. Telecommunications is brilliant because not only that is you don't just learn about telecommunications, you learn about every vertical industry that you're working with
Yeah.
to empower, to apply technology to solve their problems as well. So if you want to be able to be a brilliant engineer, grow and learn against some of the biggest challenges, work with some most amazing technology, but also work with customers to solve their problems. Working in a place like BT, we always need diversity of thought, diversity of lived experience. Um, we are looking for the next generation. So do think, if you are thinking that way and you're talented and passionate, do think of BT as perhaps a cool place to learn and grow. We'd love to hear from you.
Well, with that, I think I can leave you with Colin. We'll leave all the show notes around BT and around careers inside of BT and what they've been doing in their open ecosystem and their global fabric. If I had a computer here and a demo, I'd be digging into the tech to show you what global fabric is all about. So maybe we'll do that as show notes. Colin, thank you so much for your time,
My pleasure.
for caring about the industry,
Thank you.
and for talking about words around responsibility, obsession, and diversity. I think that that's what this industry and Mobile World Congress can use more
Thank you.
of the energy found in the conversation. So thanks.
Great. It was great fun.